BMW just dropped a machine that could wipe out Harley-Davidson's future entirely. This isn't hype, it's an ambush. And by the time the dust settles, it might be too late. Watch till the end. This changes everything. What's happening? Nobody expected BMW to strike here. Not now, not like this. But on a bright morning in early spring, the curtain dropped on a machine that stunned even seasoned insiders. The new BMW R12 GS wasn't just another retro-inspired model. It was a surgical strike aimed at the very soul of the cruiser market. What made jaws drop wasn't just the bike's appearance, it was what it represented. A wholesale rewrite of what it means to cruise in the 21st century. The R12 GS fused BMW's adventure DNA with classic style that felt inevitable, not nostalgic. Its 1,170cc boxer engine delivered instinctive torque and 109 horsepower. With a new steel frame, long travel suspension, and minimalist tank, it wasn't a concept, it was a declaration. Most motorcycle companies, Harley included, treat heritage like a museum exhibit. BMW, on the other hand, used it as a starting point. The silhouette nodded to the legendary R80G/S, but every component screamed precision. Cross-spoke wheels, LED matrix headlight, ride-by-wire throttle. It was the kind of machine that made journalists forget their scripts and engineers quietly nod in admiration. The announcement didn't feel like a product launch, it felt like an ambush. And in Harley's case, it was personal. Because what BMW just released doesn't compete with Harley's latest lineup. It threatens to erase it. Where hope once lived, questions now echoed louder. If you've ridden Harley, BMW, or anything in between, drop your take in the comments. Real riders matter here, and if this breakdown's hitting home, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to show this to more riders like you, people who need to know what's really coming next. Built better, priced smarter. Harley-Davidson didn't lose ground overnight, but the R12 GS may be the machine that finishes what time began. Because this motorcycle wasn't just well-built, it was ruthlessly smart. BMW had done what legacy American brands had resisted for decades, made something beautiful, powerful, and accessible. And the results were devastating. From a performance standpoint, the R12 GS was engineered for real-world dominance. Its suspension travel, 210 millimeters up front, 200 millimeters in the rear, was tuned not just for gravel but for crumbling highways, city potholes, and long-distance confidence. Harley cruisers, in comparison, still rely on minimal travel setups and heavy front-end bias, limiting agility and rider confidence. The BMW's wet weight? Around 520 pounds, nearly 100 pounds lighter than most Harley touring models, with none of the engine heat soak, none of the rearward flop and tight turns. What stunned the market was the price, around $16,600. The R12 GS undercut Harley's touring and electric models while offering more: dynamic traction control, cornering ABS, multiple ride modes, and cruise control, all standard. Harley, by contrast, still charges extra for basics like LED lighting. Even the ergonomics sent a message. Adjustable seat height, configurable risers, enduro footrests. Every touch point was considered, not for flash, but for function. BMW designed for the rider's real body, not for showroom posture. It meant you could ride longer, turn quicker, and walk away without the lower back ache that's practically standard with most cruisers. And for younger riders, many of whom are more accustomed to adventure ergonomics than foot-forward cruiser layouts, this setup felt intuitive from day one. Wall Street didn't blink, it panicked. If you're still rocking old-school gear on a next-gen bike, you're missing the point. Everything we recommend in the description is built for the future of riding, not the showroom fantasy. Check it out. The demographic collapse. There's a quiet panic inside Harley-Davidson that no press release can cover up. They're running out of riders. Or more specifically, they're running out of new riders. For the last 10 years, Harley has watched as its core customer base aged upward, with average rider age now above 55. And for all the talk about reaching younger audiences, the numbers don't lie. Gen Z and millennial riders aren't walking into Harley dealerships. they're going somewhere else, especially toward BMW. In 2023, BMW Motorrad hit a record. Over 240,000 bikes sold globally, with nearly half to riders under 45. Meanwhile, Harley's U.S. shipments dropped over 15%. Their investor notes confess to a limited demographic corridor, a quiet admission they're losing the next generation. It's not just about pricing, though that matters. It's about identity. Younger riders don't want chrome-soaked monuments to their grandfather's garage. They want versatility, tech, and relevance. BMW delivers all three: touchscreen integration, ride-by-wire, modular pannier systems, bikes that don't just go fast but make commuting easier and long weekends possible. The R12 GS isn't a toy or a collector's fantasy. It's a functional machine that fits a modern life. Harley tried countering with lower displacement models, mid-tier cruisers, even the short-lived Street Series. But none of them spoke to how younger riders actually live or ride. Instead of evolving with the market, Harley doubled down on its iconography. And that's why they're losing not just customers, but cultural presence. Because when the people who used to dream of your product now dream of something else, you've already lost. But the data revealed something even more unsettling: when loyalists start to look elsewhere. Jason had been riding Harley since the late 90s. 2 Road Kings, 1 Fat Bob, and a Street Glide later, he thought he'd be Harley for life. But after test riding the BMW R12 GS last month, he walked out of the dealership with something he never thought he'd own: a German motorcycle, and his reasons cut deeper than brand rivalry. "It felt like it knew what I wanted," he told us. "I didn't need to fight the weight. I didn't need to guess how it would behave in a turn. It just worked." His story isn't unique. Across the country, Harley loyalists, many of them now in their late 40s or 50s, are quietly making the switch. Not out of rebellion, out of relief. The reality is simple. Modern riders want machines that adapt. Harley asks you to adapt to the bike. For years, that trade-off was accepted, until BMW showed it wasn't necessary. Riders are discovering they can get torque, confidence, and craftsmanship without burning out their wrists or backs. They can get something thrilling that also respects their time and body. For many, it's not just about the ride, it's about being heard. Harley hasn't listened to its base in years. They pushed electrics without building infrastructure. They cut models that people loved. They made price hikes without tech justification. BMW, in contrast, quietly built machines around rider needs and then dared to challenge cruiser dominance outright. Jason's last line stuck with us: "I didn't leave Harley. Harley left me." That sentence now echoes through online forums, rider meetups, and trade-ins across the U.S. What started as a murmur is now a migration, and Harley's leadership knows it. Legacy lost its grip, and the future didn't wait. The electric ambush. BMW didn't just stop with the R12 GS, that was the opening strike. The next wave? Electric, silent, surgical. While the world was still reacting to the surprise launch of their new boxer-powered icon, BMW Motorrad was already preparing to detonate another market shift. This time aimed directly at the electric future Harley-Davidson thought it had claimed with LiveWire. The warning signs were clear. The BMW CE02 wasn't just a quirky city bike, it was the opening move. Riders loved its simplicity and torque. Then came patents, filings, and concept leaks. BMW wasn't experimenting. They were quietly building a full-scale electric cruiser platform while everyone else looked the other way. In early 2024, rumors spread of a full-sized electric BMW Roadster. Built on the R18 chassis, it promised more range than LiveWire, better pricing, and real-world utility, thanks to BMW's global EV infrastructure and focus on daily usability over flash. Harley's electric ambitions were based on exclusivity. BMW's electric strategy was rooted in accessibility, and in a world pushing emissions limits and urban riding regulations, that difference was everything. Before the dust could settle, more shockwaves hit the market. LiveWire, the wrong war. When Harley launched the LiveWire, they thought they were first. In reality, they were alone. The marketing pitch was bold: high voltage, instant acceleration, and the soul of a Harley without the sound. But the numbers never added up. LiveWire 1 debuted at just under $22,000. By the time you added accessories and chargers, it cost more than most riders' first car. And worse, it didn't ride like a Harley. It rode like a warning. LiveWire's top speed and torque were impressive on paper, but what did it mean to the average cruiser owner? No touring infrastructure, limited range, no deep dealer support, and a complete identity crisis. Harley tried to sell electric rebellion, but their buyers wanted reliability, tradition, or affordability. Instead of evolving the brand, LiveWire split it. The real issue was Harley's misread of the market. Riders wanted practical electric commuters, not premium showpieces. BMW's CE02 delivered, affordable, modular, and kitchen rechargeable. In cities like Berlin and Amsterdam, it wasn't about thrills, it was about function. And BMW nailed it. In the end, LiveWire didn't redefine Harley. It revealed Harley's weakness. No plan for mass adoption, no second model that reached the middle class, no connection to rider lifestyle outside status. It wasn't just the wrong product, it was the wrong war. Turns out they weren't even fighting the right war. The ride OS nobody saw coming. While most brands focused on engine specs and frame geometry, BMW focused on something invisible: software. Beneath the R12GS and CE02 lies something far more dangerous to Harley than torque curves: the beginnings of a mobility operating system. BMW's connected ride platform is slowly transforming motorcycles from machines into nodes in a larger digital network. Updates, diagnostics, ride modes, and rider data are now integrated in real time across devices. This is where the war turns. The power of connected ride isn't just that it tracks your bike, it tracks your behavior. BMW's platform adjusts ride feel, suspension, ABS thresholds, and even throttle mapping based on how you ride. It learns. It evolves. And when a new update drops, it happens over the air. No trip to the dealer, no waiting for a service bay. This is Tesla logic applied to two wheels, and Harley is nowhere in the equation. Now imagine what that means for fleets, delivery companies, and international commuters. Software-optimized, range-managed, maintenance-reducing motorcycles that learn their user, communicate with traffic systems, and can be updated instantly across an entire city's grid. It's not science fiction. It's already happening. And it's happening inside BMW's connected ride stack, while Harley's closest tech innovation is an analog-style dash with Bluetooth music control. The threat isn't horsepower anymore. It's infrastructure. BMW is setting itself up to be the iOS of motorcycles. And once that OS becomes the standard, Harley won't just be outgunned, they'll be digitally irrelevant. What looked like convenience was actually a control system. What your bike might already know about you. You thought your motorcycle was just listening to the road, but now it's listening to you. BMW's latest electric and hybrid models are embedding biometric feedback loops that go beyond rider input. Gaze detection, pulse-sensitive grip sensors, pressure-mapped seating. It started as a safety tool, but it's evolving into something bigger. BMW isn't just building better bikes, they're building behavioral maps of their riders in real time. As part of its Connected Ride Next initiative, BMW is already capturing subtle metrics like lean bias, throttle modulation consistency, and even reaction time during braking. On the surface, this helps with ride customization. But deeper down, it's building a profile of you. Every ride adds data. Every update adjusts behavior. And eventually, the system begins to anticipate your movements before you make them. This isn't speculation. In 2023, BMW filed patents for AI-assisted crash prevention logic tied to individual rider history. In controlled test environments, the bike could limit acceleration if a user had a pattern of late braking in high-speed traffic. It's not just responding, it's correcting. Which raises the question, who's in control? Harley riders may scoff, But while they cling to throttle feel and foot-forward identity, BMW is quietly writing the new playbook, where motorcycles don't just react, they adapt. And if this data is ever monetized, insured against, or linked to city mobility systems, it gives BMW not just a vehicle edge, but a platform monopoly. The motorcycle of the future won't just know how you ride, it will know who you are. Those ride logs and app syncs, they're not just yours. The cult of chrome meets the collapse of cool. Once owning a Harley-Davidson was a declaration. It meant freedom, rebellion, grit. The chrome, the thunder, the bar and shield, these weren't just aesthetics, they were a lifestyle. But somewhere between the Easy Rider mythos and the $20,000 t-shirt, something shifted. To a younger generation, Harley no longer represents independence. It represents inertia. Gen Z isn't drawn to chrome or V-twins. They want innovation, not nostalgia. To them, Harley's roar is noise, not freedom. The leather and legacy feel outdated. Worse, Harley still markets to baby boomers, missing an entire generation craving relevance and authenticity. The irony? In trying to preserve its identity, Harley fossilized it. Instead of adapting, it doubled down. Custom culture became costume. Power became posturing. And while Harley was busy selling the past, competitors like BMW were designing the future. Harley's brand became a burden. It aged with its riders. And in the eyes of an entire new generation, it stopped being cool. Cool used to be chrome, until it rusted. When the engineers leave first. It didn't start with the factory floor, it started in the R&D department. Quietly. One resignation, then another. Engineers who had spent years perfecting Harley's signature rumble were walking away. Not for money, but for meaning. One of them, 37-year-old Marcus L., had spent over a decade inside Harley's innovation labs. He left to join BMW's Berlin Tech campus in early 2024. His reason? They were building motorcycles for the next 30 years. We were polishing the last 10. Marcus described a culture paralyzed by heritage. Every new design proposal was weighed against tradition. Exhaust notes were tuned for memory, not efficiency. Screens were minimized to preserve analog identity. We were told to innovate within a box, he said, but the box was sacred. You couldn't touch the soul of the brand, even if the world outside was changing. BMW offered him the opposite. Flexibility, forward motion, and a team obsessed with performance and purpose, not just image. There, he was building an electric touring bike with real adaptive aerodynamics and predictive load control, features Harley hadn't even tested. Other Harley veterans followed. Some moved to Indian Motorcycles, which had begun experimenting with modular hybrid drivetrains. Others joined startups in the e-bike space. The losses weren't publicized, but internally they were felt. Harley was losing its talent to the very companies eating its market share. Sometimes the loudest alarm comes from the inside. Regulation is coming for the V-twin. Harley's most iconic asset, the big booming V-twin, is becoming its greatest liability. Around the world, emissions laws are tightening, noise regulations are expanding, and in city after city, low-emission zones are banning the very machines Harley was built to sell. Europe's Euro 5 standards have already forced smaller manufacturers to abandon entire engine lines. California's updated emissions code, effective 2026, targets specific decibel thresholds and particulate outputs, limits that many air-cooled cruisers simply cannot meet without a total redesign. And it's not just governments. Insurance companies and municipalities are starting to penalize owners of loud, high-emission bikes with fees and usage restrictions. The writing is on the wall. Combustion cruisers are headed for extinction. And while BMW, Honda, and others have invested billions into electric and hybrid platforms, Harley has lagged. LiveWire was a start, but not a system. There's no plan for affordable compliance, no clear roadmap beyond vague concept bikes and premium-priced detours. And this isn't just about tailpipes, it's about survivability. Harley's entire design ethos is built on engine architecture that regulators are actively targeting for elimination. Riders won't just face fines, they'll face obsolescence. To survive, Harley needs allies. but they may not come from boardrooms or branding agencies. Engines weren't the only thing running hot, so were regulators. The Uprising in York. The York, Pennsylvania plant has been Harley's beating heart for generations. But lately, it's been stirring with a different kind of energy. Unrest. Not the loud, flag-waving protest of the past, but something quieter, smarter, more forward-looking. A realization among workers that the brand they've helped build may not survive unless it finally evolves. Several longtime union members, many of whom have families who've worked the plant for decades, have started holding unofficial strategy meetings, not about wages, but about direction. "We see what BMW is doing," one employee said under condition of anonymity. "And we're asking, why can't we build bikes like that?" They're not demanding electric for the sake of politics. They're demanding relevance. A future. The younger workers especially feel the tension. They ride hybrid cars, they understand the tech, and they see their job security evaporating every time Harley releases another minor refresh on an outdated chassis. Even shop floor supervisors are starting to speak openly about missed opportunities. Some have even visited BMW facilities through supplier exchanges and returned shaken, not by what BMW builds, but by how fast they're moving. Automation, modular frames, digital production integration, it's all a generation ahead. And so for the first time, Harley's labor force isn't just resisting cuts. They're pushing for reinvention. They want training, they want electric design programs, they want to build machines that will matter in 10 years, not just celebrate the last 50. But this wasn't just noise, it was organized momentum. The Europe effect. Europe always understood prestige. For decades, it was Harley-Davidson's playground of aspiration. Exported Americana wrapped in chrome and leather. But now, something has shifted. In cities like Berlin, Milan, and Amsterdam, the new icons are sleeker, quieter, and far more advanced. BMW's strategy isn't just winning, it's changing the very definition of a desirable motorcycle. Ducati has started expanding its electric R&D quietly. Triumph is pivoting toward modular, tech-forward platforms. Even Piaggio is making moves that just 5 years ago would have seemed laughably progressive. What used to be niche electric experiments have become core future plans, and it is all being done without apology. Prestige in Europe no longer means nostalgia, it means innovation that works. Harley, on the other hand, is shrinking. Their European market share has thinned dramatically since 2022, with some dealers in France and Spain reporting year-over-year declines of over 30%. Tariffs didn't help, but the bigger blow came from public perception. Harley had become the loud, outdated guest at a party that had moved on. BMW didn't just respond to European tastes, it redefined them. Harley, meanwhile, retreated, pulled back, focused on the familiar. Across oceans, brands were adapting, not defending. China doesn't want your heritage. In China, the motorcycle is not a symbol of freedom. It is a tool, a fast, efficient, mobile solution for a nation that moves at breakneck speed. Nostalgia means nothing here. Heritage is irrelevant. And in this space, Harley's entire identity collapses under the weight of its own irrelevance. Sales figures tell the story. In 2023, the majority of motorcycles sold in China were electric. Lightweight frames, rapid charging, intelligent navigation, and integrated apps. These are the features that matter to Chinese buyers. Loud engines, excess chrome, high price for nameplate. Those are viewed not as luxuries, but as inefficiencies. Brands like NIU and Yadea are flooding the market with smart, affordable models. Meanwhile, BMW's entry-level e-bike designs, particularly those under the CE series, are gaining a tech-savvy urban elite following. They don't just look futuristic, they are the future. Sleek, fast, integrated with smart city infrastructure, and tailored to the rhythms of high-density life. Harley tried to enter this space with scaled-down cruisers and a few Asia-only models. But the reception was flat. Because heritage doesn't matter when the road ahead is all that counts. Heritage lost its value the moment performance became cheap. The Portfolio Massacre. Numbers never lie. And for Harley-Davidson, the story their stock chart tells is not one of evolution, but erosion. Since the peak in 2018, Harley's market capitalization has shed billions. Every quarterly earnings call features a new excuse: tariffs, inflation, supply chain issues. But investors are losing patience. Because the truth is simpler, the product no longer commands belief. BMW's motorcycle division is surging. Once overshadowed by its car business, it's now in the spotlight. Electric projections for 2025 jumped 63%, and with connected ride and software upgrades, analysts see it as a model for tech-driven mobility success. Investment firms are shifting positions. Two major institutional shareholders divested from Harley in early 2024, citing strategic stagnation. Others are urging mergers, spin-offs, or full rebrands. One hedge fund memo called Harley a holding company for a dying culture. What was once a blue-chip brand is now treated like a nostalgia stock, prone to sudden spikes but ultimately falling in relevance. The spreadsheet doesn't lie. The brand bleed was real. If you've made it this far, you already know. This isn't just brand drama. It's an industry shift. We cover the stories the mainstream won't touch. Subscribe now and be first to know what's coming next. Because by the time it's trending, it might already be too late. Your bike, your money, your identity. This isn't just about Harley versus BMW, it's about something deeper, more personal. A motorcycle isn't just transportation, it's an extension of identity. A declaration of how you see the road and your place in the world. For decades, Harley-Davidson sold a dream of freedom, of rebellion, of American self-definition. But that story only works if the symbols still resonate. And today, fewer and fewer people see themselves in leather vests and growling exhaust pipes. They see themselves in agility, efficiency, adaptability, quiet strength, in machines that reflect a modern world, connected, cleaner, and in motion. The younger buyer doesn't want to join a club. They want to control their time. They want to reduce friction, not amplify it. And the motorcycle that does that isn't a throwback. It's a preview. BMW understands this. Their designs aren't just vehicles, they're lifestyle tools. Performance merged with precision, style married to software. And that leaves the old icons standing still, shouting into the wind while the rest of the world rides on. It was never about the bike. It was about what the bike said about you. You didn't just watch a motorcycle story, you witnessed a power shift. What used to be chrome and legacy is now code and strategy. If you're still here, you're not just curious, you're awake. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the machines, the markets, and the myths. Because the next chapter won't be about who wins the ride, it'll be about who controls the road. Don't miss what's coming. Stay locked in. And if this hit you like it hit us, drop a like and let us know in the comments. What's your take on where the road leads next?